This week on the Orange Box Podcast, we take a break from the gaming news to talk about a bunch of random gaming and Christmas related topics and more. All of this tonight, but first, on to the new Beautiful Bean intro. Welcome to the place where PC and console gaming talk combine. This is the Orange Box Podcast, episode 11D6. I am your host, the man who's getting nuttin' for Christmas. Mommy and Daddy are mad. Nathan, also known as the Frozen Gamer 87. And joining me, as always, the man who's getting a rock for Christmas. I got a rock. Justin, better known as I'm Zeracon. How you doing today? How's your week been?
Tonight, not bad. As you know, last week, I just was feeling very ill, very sick and stuff, very weak and tired. And that's been, I got, that one night I told you was the worst, but afterwards I was feeling much better.
Good.
I felt a little worse, I think Thursday evening, but, afterwards it's primarily been gone. I mean, I still have remnants of whatever it is that I had. It's just mostly just congestion in my sinuses, but that's really about it. Because of that, I've been primarily just doing a whole lot of resting these days. Still, of course, was doing work and stuff, but I was working from home. I decided not to go into the office for the last few days. Our office will be open. So, just working from home from that point. Friday, of course, I did the live stream, and I got started late just because things were really, I have a lot of technical difficulties with getting stuff sent to my laptop, but you were definitely helpful with getting some of that taken care of. And part of it just ended up being like plugging my monitor, plugging my monitor and the capture card to my graphics card, and then forcing the video to go to the capture card by unplugging the monitor, because for some crazy reason just plugging it directly into the graphics card didn't send any type of signal at all, which was weird. But yeah, I got started late on that, and it wasn't necessarily too big of a thing because my live stream was really short, which of course I'll discuss later on. But yeah, after that though, I just decided to get some rest. So yesterday, which was Saturday, ended up just primarily sleeping and just getting more rest and trying to get some rest today as well. So yeah, it's really just been a slow week and whatnot. But yeah, that's been it for me.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're at least mostly feeling better. That's definitely a good thing. So, in terms of my week, or half week, I guess, since the last time we recorded, pretty busy with work. Just trying to wrap things up before the end of the year. Some stuff didn't quite get wrapped up as well as I wanted it to, but I did take my exam on Thursday and passed that, thankfully. I had to get a score of 700 points and I got 733. So it's like, hey, I more than passed it. That's good enough for me. I'm not going to fret about, anything I missed. It's like, it's not a big deal. But yeah, so I'm glad that that's over with. I was able to get my certification in time and get most of the stuff wrapped up that I wanted to wrap up. There's a couple of minor things I couldn't quite finish, but, still overall it worked out fine, and I was able to find the main issue that I was having that had come up on whenever that was. I think that was Tuesday or Wednesday. I wasn't able to fully resolve it, but one of the other guys on my team was able to kind of take over for me, since he has access to the stuff that he would need to have access to in order to hopefully get it resolved next week. And worst case scenario, it'll just get resolved when I get back. So, but yeah, so I'm on vacation officially until January 2nd, which is a Friday. It hasn't quite hit me yet because of the fact that I've basically I worked the entirety of this past week, and then Saturday and Sunday have been basically normal. So it's I think tomorrow, when I'm sleeping in and everything, and then start to actually get to enjoy the time off a little more, then that'll be good. But let's see here. Today we had our family group Christmas get together, which ended up just being us and the host family, and we just hung out. I made some quesadillas. They were with steak, bacon, ranch, and pepper jack cheese. They were very good. And then we were also spraying different cookies. And so my wife made 2 kinds of cookies, one of which was an experiment that turned out amazing. And that's basically peanut butter cookies filled with cream cheese frosting. So, but it's like just the right amount of sweetness, like the really good cream cheese frosting that's not too sweet, that's mostly cream cheesy, but it's also just really good, and wrapped with peanut butter cookies, and it's just like, oh, it's so good. So good, man. Honestly, that has to be my favorite cookie I've ever had. So we made those, and then we were originally going to, my wife was originally also going to make some, use the chocolate chip cookie recipe, but do it instead with mint M&Ms, because that's one of the things we just like to do, because, you get the Christmas mint M&Ms, and it's just kind of like a Christmassy thing. Unfortunately, all of the places were out of those M&Ms, so instead we did Andy's mints. And there ended up being a couple of issues with it. For one, because my wife used fresh milled flour. She normally, when she uses it in other cookie recipes, it's 1-to-1, but with the chocolate chip cookie recipe, you have to put more in there, and she had forgotten that, and so she didn't put enough in there. So they ended up just being like really thin and flat, and the Annie's mints melted completely. So they still tasted good, just not quite cookie shaped and everything. But yeah, so there's that. And tomorrow I'm having my brothers-in-law and their kids over, potentially 1 or 2 other people. And I'm making nachos, as the British say. And so, or rather, I'm making stuff for nachos. They're going to bring some chips and some taco meat and guacamole. And I made the cheese sauce, of course, and some carnitas. And there's extra of the steak that I made, because basically really what I did was I just did a chuck roast, and then I chopped it up finely and then marinated it and cooked it up. So there's plenty of that extra from what I made for the quesadillas. And then refried beans. Then I'll make some salsa tomorrow. And yes, I'm intentionally mispronouncing these things. Let's see here. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. Oh, and normally I have pickled jalapenos available. I'm low on them, so I'll make up some more tomorrow, but they don't take long to make, so I just need to make sure I remember to do that early enough in the day. And I think that's it, other than, Christmas coming up, and we'll be going to my sister's house, and I'll make some mac and cheese, but that's the only thing I'm making this time, so it's gonna work out nicely. But yeah, so it'll be a fun time. But I think that's basically everything.
Nice. Definitely, again, congratulations on passing your exam. And you've definitely been, I would say, busy with all the different stuff you've been cooking and will be cooking. Mm-hmm. But everything though just sounds delicious, frankly.
Yeah, I ended up spending a bunch of time on Saturday just doing a lot of prep, and between doing some cooking and then just getting stuff prepped for later cooking. Like, I'm going to be making chicken pot pie sometime this week, and there's a recipe we had gotten from friends years ago that was more of like a chicken and mushroom pot pie. And so we're doing something very similar, except that I'm making cream of mushroom soup from scratch, and instead of just getting chicken breasts and boiling them, which is what the original recipe called for, I just got a rotisserie chicken and shredded it up. So I'll probably do that later this week, and then of course we'll have our traditional Christmas breakfast of crescent rolls stuffed with cream cheese and sausage. So those will be yummy. But yeah, I got most of the stuff done. And I got all the gifts wrapped except for like a few things for the kids that are left, and then but everything else is wrapped, and my wife will do all of her remaining wrapping. I think tomorrow is the plan. So the hope is that by the time Christmas Eve rolls around, it'll actually be mostly a lazy day, which would be nice because usually Christmas Eve is very busy for us. So, yep. But yeah. Anyway, obviously with you being sick part of the time, you haven't played much, but what have you been playing?
Well, because of live stream, I've been playing Batman Arkham Origins as part of the challenge, and so I, of course, made it through a good portion. Well, not the good portion. I made it through about, an hour and a half before I died, and I died in the worst, most embarrassing way possible, and that was right outside of the GCPD building where you have to sneak in. And the problem was I got cocky because of the stealth challenges in Arkham Asylum, and I was trying to be fancy because I had to do all the different stuff with the stealth takedowns and everything, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try to apply some of my knowledge here. The problem is you're outside and you don't have all the stuff you would normally have, like grates and different ledges and all this other type of stuff where you could apply that stuff. So because of that, after my first stealth takedown, I got spotted, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to the nearest gargoyle, swing around. Fine, that was great. Everyone lost track of me. I tried to take down a couple other people. I got a little impatient, and because of that, I just got gunned down. And I was just so salty after that moment. And I was... Part of me was like, okay, maybe I should just keep going, but I said, no, I'm supposed to stop after one death. I kept playing a little longer just for people who might not have, or also just to put the remaining codes I had in the chat and let people who would be possibly coming in just like see it and claim anything. But I played a little bit longer, just for about another 45 minutes or so. And then when I actually did get to a stealth encounter inside the building, then that was the time for me to actually start applying those things I had learned, because that during that section, I was performing different types of takedowns. I was, trying to use the environment to my advantage. That was the time to use it, and not actually outside in the open world. So that was a learning moment for me. A, not to be so cocky, and B, to actually use those skills inside and not outside, because you lack those you lack those things. Except they brought that into Arkham Knight, where you actually could do those type of takedowns and stuff outside. So do it then, not now. But yeah, other than that though, it was still pretty decent. I did try to learn from my previous years, and I bought an energy drink, but this time unfortunately I did end up needing to do that. But that's all right. But yeah, that's essentially everything that I've played.
All right. Yeah, that's a real shame that happened, because man, I mean, because last year didn't you get all the way through?
Practically. I was almost right near the end. It was like one of the final, I guess, fights before you get to actual Joker at the end, which was, I was just like so disappointed about, but I was just surprised I even made it that far. So I was like hoping I could actually complete the game this year, but didn't turn out that way.
That's too bad. Oh well, you live and you learn, I guess.
Indeed.
It's too bad though. I would definitely like to be able to tune in one of those times, but obviously with it being Friday, you know, is normally a family night for me, so I can't tune in as long anyway, but oh well. All right. Well, my list is definitely shorter this week. But I will just mention, first of all, I did get to check out the Pragmata demo, both on Steam Deck and PC. Unfortunately, for some reason, even though I recorded it, it didn't actually save my footage on PC, so I may try to see if I can record again tomorrow before I do the editing, just because the demo's short enough that I could probably do another run through without too much difficulty. But so all the footage that's playing here is just from the Steam Deck, but this will at least gives you a good idea of what the game looks like. This is running basically all low settings, no upscaling, and I just raised the textures up to, I think, medium, and was able to get pretty close to locked 45 frames per second. So I'm pretty happy with it, and it looks really good. I mean, like, it looks surprisingly good on the Steam Deck, so I'm quite pleased with that aspect. But what's even more impressive was running it on my desktop. And yes, my desktop is very powerful, you know, with 24 gigs of VRAM and everything, way more than what's needed. But considering how poorly so many recent games have been, this one shocked me a bit more with how well it runs. I was getting, with all settings maxed out and ray tracing turned on, which, I mean, you can only have it on or off. You can't customize like the types of things with the ray tracing, but with all that maxed out at 1440p, I was getting around 150 plus frames per second. I was blown away by how well it runs. I mean, it's like this game actually takes advantage of the power that's here. And I mean, the fact that it runs as well and looks as good on the Steam Deck as it does, because like I said, the footage that's playing right now is all Steam Deck footage. Definitely has very much impressed me. Now, in terms of the actual gameplay, I think it's fun. Like, I like the gameplay. I could see it being maybe compared in some ways to things like the recent God of War games, 2018 and Ragnarok, except minus the like story heavy bits necessarily. But this is also demo, so there might be more of that. But you're playing as a guy who, this is of course futuristic sci-fi thing. You're playing as a guy and you carry around a little girl android on your back, and basically what she can do for you is lots of tactical stuff like pressing switches from afar and that sort of thing. But she can also, you can use her to target enemies, and then you basically you press buttons to move a cursor around to get different bonuses before getting to the center thing that basically makes it so they take more damage. Because if you just shoot them normally, they don't take a lot of damage, but it kind of like opens up their shell so that they can actually take more damage. And so it works well. I've been like very pleased with how it plays. It's the demo on the long end with getting like all of the chests and everything took me around, I want to say under 25 minutes, or no, on the longer end it was about 28 minutes, I want to say, because it took me a while to figure out how to get some of the chests. But yeah, and then on the shorter end, the first time through, it took me about 25 minutes to complete the demo. It just has like a little bit of basic combat and getting through some early areas, and then you get to a boss fight, and after the boss fight, the demo's over. So, and it looks like the way it's set up is you're intended to get through it like 7 times to get all the different bonuses that you get, and I'm pretty sure the bonuses will transfer into the main game. It's basically just like different skins, essentially. So, nothing special, but still, it's a fun enough demo to where like I could easily see myself doing it that many times. I mean, the fact that I already, you know, played through it once on the Steam Deck and then once on my PC. Yeah. I may try it out on the laptop too, but I don't know if I'll do that. I mean, especially because the game runs well enough on Steam Deck to where if I wanted to play it portable, I would probably just play it on the Steam Deck and not worry about trying to do it on the laptop. But yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about it. Like I said, looks really good, runs really well. It's very well optimized. Of course, it's running an RE engine, and because it's not open world, you know, RE engine is working as well as it does for the majority of the games that they make. It's just really like Dragon's Dogma 2 and Monster Hunter Wilds that are open world games and don't run as well on the RE engine. So, but yeah, and then, as is my annual tradition, I played some Assassin's Creed Valhalla while watching Die Hard last night. Unfortunately, the footage, just like what happened with the footage for Pragmata, if for some reason it didn't save anything when I recorded it, so I'm not really sure what happened there, but the footage is playing now. It's just the same footage I played last week. So yeah, it turns out that one chest I was having a hard time getting to, I can't even get to yet because you have to have a certain quest active in order to access the area to get through the door that you need to be able to get through to actually get to that treasure. So I wasted a whole bunch of time on it during the Game Awards trying to get that, and turns out it was a complete waste of time because I couldn't get to it. So but yeah, so I enjoyed that. It's a good tradition. I've enjoyed that. And I mean, you know, the first time I started this tradition was, or well, the first time I did this before it became a tradition was I was still playing Assassin's Creed Origins, and then I switched over to Assassin's Creed Odyssey and was playing that every year until last year, from 2019 to 2020. Well, I finished it this year, but I for this tradition I played it through last year, and then, you know, finished up the game this year. So I was playing Valhalla, obviously, and just slowly working through that. I'm looking at Valhalla as one that it may end up being like Odyssey and taking me years and years to complete. But because I'm looking at it that way, if it doesn't take me that long, great. And if it does, it's like, that's fine. I don't mind just playing it little by little, and there'll probably be times where I'm playing it a bunch, and then other times where I'm barely touching it and just kind of work through it little by little. But there's enough quality of life improvements over Odyssey to where I think overall I like this one better so far. But really the thing I played the most was Xenoblade Chronicles X, which, of course, I'm still playing on the Switch OLED, mostly in handheld mode. I played a tiny bit docked, and unfortunately, I don't know what it is with OBS lately and recording stuff from Switch to whatever, but the footage is just coming out really garbage. Like, it really doesn't look good. Like, I mean, the footage doesn't look terrible on here, but it looks worse than the game does when I'm actually playing it, and I don't know what's the deal with OBS on that front, so I need to see if I can figure out why the footage is coming out so bad. But yeah, so I played probably a few more hours. A lot more of it was just wandering around doing side stuff than anything else, and just started moving the story forward a little bit. But I'm only, let's see, I finished up chapter 4, and I think I'm just about to start do the chapter 5 mission, which I remember was kind of a big mission story-wise, at least in terms of reveals that it had and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm planning to just take my time with this game. I really want to like play it fully and completely, because when I played it on the Wii U, I did put a lot of time into it, but I never there's just a lot of stuff I didn't do. Like, I mean, I completed the story and did a lot of side stuff, but I never like came even close to 100%ing it. And while I don't know if necessarily if I'll get 100%, at least I might try to do 100% outside of the online stuff. I'm just not entirely sure yet how all that's going to look, because it's going to be a little by little sort of thing, but I am enjoying it quite a lot. Yes, I wish it was 60 frames per second. I wish it was higher resolution, but I'm still finding it more enjoyable on the Switch OLED than I did on the Switch 2, just because of the fact that it's the proper resolution for the screen. But yeah. One thing that I have been thinking about related to this, so of course I listed the Switch 2 for sale, and I haven't gotten any bites, and I looked again, and it looks like the posting is still pending. I'm still waiting for it to actually be approved so that it can actually go up. So I don't even know when that's going to happen. I don't know who's admin for the page, if they're doing anything with the page, and whether or not it'll get approved. So there's that issue. But what I'm kind of starting to consider is maybe still keeping the Switch 2, and I mean, I'm still definitely going to play the regular Switch games that don't have upgrades on the Switch OLED, because it's just a better experience, and I'm not regretting buying the Switch OLED at all. But with the way things are, when it comes to, you know, like prices potentially going up for products and everything with RAM shortages and all that, I'm just starting to wonder, maybe it would be better for me to just keep this. I mean, I'm not going to sell the Switch OLED. I'm keeping that regardless, because it's just going to be better for all the Switch 1 games that are in my backlog that don't have upgrades. But like, even though I definitely don't have the most positive opinion of Metroid Prime 4, the fact of the matter is it did play really well on the Switch 2. And that was the first time that I was really enjoying playing the Switch 2 since I got it. And I just think about it, and it's like, you know, if there are other games that come out for Switch 2, or they do eventually put out a performance and visual patch for Xenoblade Chronicles X, that could actually make it feel like, okay, it's worthwhile having this thing. I mean, of course, obviously, if they put out a performance and visual patch for this game on the Switch 2, I would play it there, because I would much rather play it at 60 frames per second. And I've looked at, you know, okay, should I maybe just emulate the game and, you know, play it either on PC and or Steam Deck? But the problem with that is, of course, that then I'd probably have to start over again, because I don't know how easily I'd be able to transfer my save, and it's just... It's a hassle. I mean, at this point, like, unless they do a performance patch for Switch 2, assuming that I don't end up selling it, which, you know, we'll see what happens. That's still kind of up in the air. But if I still have my Switch 2 and they do a performance patch, then I'll play it on Switch 2, and if not, I'll just keep playing it on the OLED. And, you know, 30 frames per second is far from ideal, but it doesn't ruin the game. I mean, there's some jank to the game here and there anyway, but I still really enjoy it overall, and the music is fantastic. So good. So any shortcomings that the game has, there's enough I love about it to where it doesn't bother me much. Even though it would still be better at 60. Just without question. So yeah. But anyway, like I said, I'm enjoying Xenoblade Chronicles X. I'm definitely going to keep playing this. This is my main game right now. So that is everything.
Okay. So question, because I'm not certain how this was being handled for Xenoblade Chronicles X. At what point are you able to access the new content? Do you have to, is there like a certain chapter in the game that's accessible, or do you have to beat the game completely?
I think it's after you beat the game, or at least after you beat the main story, because as far as I know, all of the stuff that they put in is post what was originally the cliffhanger. So
okay. All right. I was just curious to know about like how close you are to like experiencing that.
Nowhere near close enough. And I'm not going to rush through it, because I rushed through a lot of the story the first time I played it. And I think ultimately, I mean, well, it just put me in a rougher spot when it came to the final boss fight. than I would have been if I had taken my time with it more. I struggled with that one a lot. I had to lower the difficulty to get through that fight. And I know that if I actually take the time to just play normally, take my time with it, not rush through it, that I'm probably going to not only enjoy the game even more, but also be better prepared for when I get to the final boss. And then when I go into the new content, I will be ready for it and I can fully enjoy it. If I'm desperate to know what happens with the new content, I may consider looking up, just looking up all the cutscenes and everything and just watching it, and then, I'll play through it when I get to it. But I haven't been that anxious for it, and right now I'm just kind of enjoying the ride, so I'm sticking with it.
And then regarding Pragmata, definitely great optimization from what you've told me. And I mean, the fact that you were able to have ray tracing on and still get 150 frames per second. I mean, if every game that uses ray tracing had that type of performance, I would be all fine with ray tracing, because that is an extreme rarity for a game. And also, no upscaling, correct?
Yeah, no upscaling.
No upscaling either. So, to have a game running this well with ray tracing on, and of course, like you said, it's not like you had multiple levels of ray tracing where you could choose what types you wanted to use or what intensity, but still, the fact is you had ray tracing on, no upscaling, triple digit performance. That is insane. So I mean, again, like you said, the RE engine, when not used in open world settings, is just great. And I mean, we've definitely seen that with how Capcom's done for other games. So it's not too surprising, but at the same time, it's still just phenomenal that this is happening. So other game developers that use ray tracing, take some notes here and learn to optimize, and maybe then people might actually be fine with using ray tracing, and don't use upscaling as a crutch to get either.
Right.
But yeah, definitely great here there. I think there's a demo, or I can't remember if there's a demo for it or not, for the Switch, because I was gonna ask if you would be
I don't think there is. I'm pretty sure PC is the only place that has the demo right now. I mean, I know Switch is going to get the game, and I'm pretty sure it's going to get a demo later on, but I'm almost positive that when they announced the demo, they said that it was coming to PC that day, which was at the Game Awards, and then the demo would be coming later for consoles.
Okay.
But when it does come to Switch 2, I'll definitely check out the demo there, especially since it's short.
Alright. Cool beans.
All right. Good stuff. And just as a reminder, in case anyone was watching that footage and was like, that doesn't have ray tracing in it and everything, once again, that was just Steam Deck footage. That was low settings and everything, with the exception of textures, which I had at medium. So if I am able to, I will try to re-record the footage from the demo on PC. And if so, then the footage that will have been displayed before I'm talking right now will be split between the Steam Deck and the PC so that you can see that better. But yeah, I was super impressed. And I mean, I was halfway wondering, is there frame gen turned on? And it's no, I checked the menu, frame gen is turned off. And when I was doing it with Valor Mortis, and there was that period where I thought that it was running at super high settings with ray tracing on, it did show in the readout, it said FSR and then the frame rate, and then it said FPS with the actual frame rate when it had frame gen turned on. Whereas with this, it just said FPS. It didn't say anything else. So I know that much more that it was the case. And I mean, considering what we've seen with RE Engine in the past for games that are not open world, it makes sense that it would run really well. I mean, they've done a really good job with that. So, and I didn't get to test it without ray tracing turned on because of the fact that the game didn't give the option to turn it off while in game. You can only turn it off from the main menu. So maybe the next time I run through it, I will turn off ray tracing. So keep all the settings maxed out and then just see what kind of frame rate I'm getting. I would not be surprised if I get like 170 frames plus with ray tracing turned off. So, but still, I mean, 150, pretty average with ray tracing on. That's extremely good. Because that's not something that, like, I would rather get, the extra 20, 30 frames per second. Like, if it's a difference between 80 and 100 frames per second, I'd rather just have the 100 frames per second, over the ray tracing. The ray tracing, it's like, it looks nice, but when I'm playing the game, it doesn't really matter to me, especially because screen space reflections, which is usually what other games use instead, whether in place of ray tracing or because they had it before ray tracing was an option, those still look really good. Yes, they don't look as good as ray tracing, but they're also nowhere near as demanding. So it's like, I'd rather have the baked lighting and better performance. But for this game, I'm like, this might be the one game that assuming I get, well, I'll probably get it eventually, whether it's probably just not at launch. This is one game where I would probably keep ray tracing turned on. I would very seriously consider it, or maybe just out of principle, I'd keep it turned off because I hate being forced to do it. And, I just prefer to keep it off when I have the option. So, but either way, still good stuff. All right. So, this week we're not talking news. We are just going to talk some other topics related to Christmas and games, and just kind of have more of a chill episode. This may end up being a shorter one. We'll kind of play it by ear and see how things go, but either way, this episode will be out on Christmas Day. So if you if you're listening to it now, it's already out and it's already Christmas or later. So there is that. But regardless, let's get into those topics. So the way we're doing this is we're just going to present different questions to each other and then answer accordingly. So I guess I'll let you go ahead and ask the first question.
Right. So my first question is, what is your, I guess, what would you say is your favorite or one of your favorite Christmas gaming memories?
All right. Let me think here. I'm going to say this one kind of ties into one of the questions that I'm going to be asking, but I'll still answer this. Probably, I think my favorite Christmas gaming memory. Man, it's kind of tough. There's like... yeah, actually, no, this is the only one that's specific Christmas Day, because I can think of a few that are just like right around the time of Christmas. But Christmas Day gaming memory, my favorite one is probably when I got my N64 for Christmas of 1999 and was playing Mario Kart 64 and Super Smash Brothers on my parents' big screen TV. Way back in the day, and it was one of those massive things, the regular before we had flat screens and everything. And it was super fun. I mean, like, it was my first Nintendo console that I actually had. I mean, I was 13 at the time, or no, I was almost 13 at the time, but I had gotten that for Christmas, and it was just super cool getting into that. I was playing with at least one of my sisters. I know I was playing with my younger sister. I can't remember if I played with any of my older sisters on Mario Kart, but either way, that was a very, very cool memory, and that was what made me a fan of Nintendo games, was playing the N64. So Yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah. I'm a bit torn because in a similar vein, the N64 was my first Nintendo console that I owned, and I mean, it was also the first console I owned in general. And similar to you, Smash Brothers was actually one of the games that I got when I got the N64. Other one was, I think, Madden 2000, but definitely that was still the first console I had. And I'm really torn between that and I'm torn between that and possibly the Game Boy Advance when I got that years later, because that was just like the first gaming handheld I ever had, and also that was the handheld that I really just enjoyed and played like for many years. Right up until the DS Lite when I got that one sometime way later. But the Game Boy Advance was just like so good. I really enjoyed the games on there. So I'm really just torn between those two. But I guess I'll say the N64 though, just because that essentially was what started me on the road to everything.
All right. So I guess this question you kind of answered and I kind of answered it too, but we could go more in depth or go an alternate direction on it. So my first question was, what was the best gaming related Christmas gift you ever received? And if the answer is essentially what you've already said, you can always pick your next favorite after.
Well, there is that one is also a bit challenging because while the N64 and the Game Boy Advance were great, there were also games that I also enjoyed. And of course, Smash Brothers being one of them, of course, as the first game I had. But then Toy Story 2, which I got probably a Christmas or two later, that one I also enjoyed. And just because I really loved Toy Story as a kid, that's one reason why I loved playing that game so much. And it's also part of the reason why it eventually became my sort of 4th of July tradition to play it, because I always played it as a kid. So man, I guess just to be different from my previous answer, I'll say Toy Story 2, just because that game, in addition to everything else, that game in particular still had a whole lot of memories for me. And it was way later, until once I was actually a teenager when I actually beat the game. But I just remember, my mother, she would tell you, because that was still back when I was really just starting to get into games and was playing it, and I would say, and she would say, this is what she told me. She said, I would always be frustrated because I didn't know how to play the game, and I would get stuck, and she would be trying to help me, and I would say, I can't play it, it's too hard. And then, as I got older, I started to actually be, competent at playing games. Then I would start to get further in the game, and then she would be surprised, saying like, oh, I don't remember you doing this before. And then I'm just getting further into the game, and then of course I hit a roadblock with one boss, but then eventually overcoming that and finally getting through the game years later. And it's been a fun journey in that aspect. So I guess I'll say Toy Story 2 is my answer.
All right. Well, I mean, apart from getting the N64 with Mario Kart 64 and Smash Brothers, I mean, I'll just say apart from those, I have a twofold answer, and one of them is not really a Christmas one, so it's going to be more of an honorable mention. But in terms of a Christmas one specifically, this was technically, I mean, it was a Christmas gift and it wasn't at the same time. And it was that I got a gift card for Best Buy on Christmas, but I used it to buy Mario Odyssey, and it was like the first time I've ever had this happen. It was really surprising to me that it got delivered the next day, which was very shocking to me. It just came from Anchorage instead of coming all the way from wherever it usually takes. Because usually it's like when I ordered stuff when I lived in Alaska, a lot of times it'd be like a week, you know. At best, it would be 3 to 4 days. And this time it was the day after I ordered it, because I ordered it on Christmas Day with that gift card, and then I got it the next day and got started. So I really, really enjoyed that. I mean, that was a phenomenal game. And I mean, it's so good. Like, seriously, Mario Odyssey it's honestly one of the best 3D Mario games. Like, oh man, I still have never 100%ed it, and I've told myself off and on I need to go back and actually 100%, because it's mostly like I hadn't done Dark Side of the Moon, and I hadn't done a handful of the other challenges, especially some of the ones where you had to get through a boss fight without getting hit, or without taking damage, and that sort of thing. And then there was like the volleyball game where you had to get a certain number of hits. I can't remember how many it was. It was ridiculous, but anyway, so I may eventually go back to that, but it really is a phenomenal game, and I had a great time with it. But I do want to give something that's an honorable mention, and the major reason it's an honorable mention is because it wasn't actually a Christmas gift. It was a Thanksgiving gift. This only happened one time, but Thanksgiving of 2011, my wife surprised me with a Thanksgiving gift, which we'd never done Thanksgiving gifts before, but she got the idea from coworkers, and she gave me Skyward Sword. And it was like, I wasn't expecting that at all. Like, I had no idea that it was coming. We'd only been married a couple years at that point. And, it was a complete surprise, but it was an amazing surprise because I wanted to play it. And I had such a great time with that game. There's lots of things to criticize about Skyward Sword for sure. And, the Switch version, of course, has 60 frames per second, but the motion controls kind of suck on the Switch version. But yeah, like I had such fond memories of that. And of course that was before we had any kids. So, and I was working graveyard shifts at the time. So it was basically just, I'd wake up and sometimes I'd play it in the morning after I got home from work, but a lot of times it would just be, like I'd wake up in the afternoon and get to play some for a bit. But yeah. So yeah, honorable mention on that. All right, what's the next question you got?
All right. So what would be, I guess, one or two things that you really enjoyed in past Christmases?
That's
like what, like
broad.
something that, like some things in specific that you really just were fond of, whether it's stuff that happens like multiple years, or something that happened maybe say one particular Christmas, like just something like that. So it could be as broad or I guess as narrow as you want.
Okay. Well, I think probably this one I really have to, I'm going like way back 30 plus years ago. Actually about 30 years ago, give or take. Anyway, back in the 90s, particularly, Christmas with my parents. And a lot of it is kind of like, I didn't necessarily appreciate it as much at the time, but especially like going back and watching old home movies and stuff, just appreciating everything my parents did for us, and just my dad's sense of humor, especially just like, I appreciate it so much more as an adult than I did before. And, like my dad would stall as much as humanly possible when it came to letting us open presents and everything. And um, he would keep coming up with random excuses. And there's this one of our home movies from that, and I think it was probably Christmas 93. It's either 93 or 94. I can't remember which. It's one of the two. And at one point, I don't know how long it had actually been since we had started the process, waiting for my parents to drink their coffee and everything before we could open presents. But I was saying to my parents, it's been 4 hours that we've been waiting. and and then one of my parents comments, yeah, I guess every 5 minutes is an additional hour, and it had been like 20 minutes. But I was, 7, 8 years old, so but it's just like I think about those times, and just like it was a special time, and it's like it's something you don't always appreciate when you're a young kid, like what it's like. And I that's obviously not every kid has that type of experience. I recognize that. I'm very blessed to have had the parents that I had and everything, and just the way that uh they not only did we just have really good Christmases, but I don't know how to explain all of it, but I realized how blessed we were to have the parents we had, and um the kind of Christmases we had, and just all the memories attached to that. As kind of a part of that, this is not specifically related to my parents, but at the same time it was just growing up. But one of the things that I remember that I always really loved about Christmas time, that we don't get quite as much, at least not in our house now, just because our house is different. But when we lived in Sacramento, we had a fireplace in our house, and it was a carpeted living room, and so it was just kind of like more cozy, I guess you could say. And I mean, I love our living room, but we have a wood floor, and we have like a big area rug in the middle of the floor, but it's not quite cozy in the same sense. And of course, now we have the computer in front of the fireplace, so you can't really see it a whole lot, but that's really the only place we could put it. So, I mean, still, like, don't get me wrong, like, I love this house, and I love being here and everything else, and the fact that it's our house. But yeah, there's just some things that are really special about those times looking back. And yeah, some of it is obviously nostalgia, just rose-colored glasses and everything. I don't know everything that was going on behind the scenes in terms of, whether my parents had struggles with finances or anything. I don't think they really did, because they're better with money than I am, for sure. But, they both worked and all of that. So anyway, all that being said, I definitely just look back at that time, and I think very fondly of it. And I think my kids are, I'm hoping that this is finally the year that my kids are at the age where I can really torture them with how long it takes for me to open presents, and how long it takes for them to be able to open presents, because I didn't get it when I was a kid, but now I just see there's so much joy in just tormenting the children, just watching them. And I don't think it would necessarily bring them to tears. It's more just kind of like listening to them suffer, for lack of a better word. It's just fun messing with them. And I mean, the kids they have it way better than we did when we were little kids, because things are, just, there's just so much more technology and everything else now than there was, in the 90s and so on. And I mean, obviously you were, born in the mid 90s, and I was born in the late 80s, but yeah. Anyway, all that rambling being said, you can go ahead and answer the question.
Yeah, I in a similar vein, there are sort of two sort of repeated things that happened that really just stuck with me, and it's just something that I really miss, and something that really can't be replicated. And until I guess it's just like it's more like a tradition thing. And the first one was every Christmas Eve, going to my uncle's house on my mom's side of the family, and and so seeing all my cousins, seeing my grandfather, seeing all the different relatives and stuff. And so while of course we would have like dinner and stuff, and all the kids, we would be like playing and stuff and whatnot, and just like doing everything until like it was time to go home. And of course, because it's Christmas Eve, we would just get the presents exchange and stuff, and we would just open up the following morning. But it was definitely a fun time there, just doing all that stuff. And then I always remember when we're getting ready to leave, and the parents are like, all right, put your coats on and stuff. And then it's like, oh, we've got our coats on. And then the adults are still talking, and we're like, okay, we're getting warm now. And it's like 5, 7, 10 minutes, and you're still talking, and we're getting hot in these coats. And then we start to like unbutton them, and then the parents saying, why are you unbuttoning your jacket? Put it back when it's cold outside. And we're like, but you're still talking and we're burning up here. And so it's just those types of things that were just really enjoyable every Christmas Eve. And just doing those for years and years until things just change and stuff, and that just stopped happening. But then also on Christmas Day, or at least for Christmas evening, we would go on my uncle's side, on my father's side of the family and stuff. And so we would have dinner there, and just seeing relatives. And then also I've got like a couple cousins who are around like my age and stuff. And so one of them was all I would always be like bring like a couple action figures I got, he would bring a couple action figures he got, we'd be playing with that. And then once we actually had our own Game Boy Advances, we'd be playing those. We'd be swapping cartridges around, or for the games that we did have that were similar, we would be, getting our Game Boy Connect cable and just like plugging them in and playing together. So like that was definitely good, fun times there. And so we would just be spending the time there until it was probably around midnight or so, or maybe a little bit later. And all the kids, we were pretty much passed out by that point until our parents woke us up, and we had to go home and stuff. But that kept going on for years and years until we eventually were older and stuff, and some of the other folks, the ones who were passed out, and I'm the one who was awake and stuff. And so it was just good times until life happens and stuff. And so those types of things just stopped happening. And there are some people who just aren't here anymore, who you used to see at those parties and stuff. I mean, like, for example, my father, for one thing. But it's just like those memories were stuff that I enjoyed then, but I guess I just sort of I appreciate more now looking back.
Mm-hmm.
And those were just some good things. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like some of those things just aren't really done too much these days, I would say. I mean, I'm not sure if it's really just like a cultural shift in tone from like, sort of like as you're saying, the 90s, and I guess to a degree like early 2000s ish and stuff like that. I don't know if that type of thing just doesn't happen as much these days, but I don't know, it just seems like it doesn't happen, at least in my life. It had happened then. But yeah, those were just some definitely good times that I experienced though in my past.
Good stuff. All right, my next question. What are some of your favorite Christmas traditions, gaming and otherwise? Gaming and or otherwise.
Okay. So the one tradition that kind of has shifted around, and that it definitely has varied over the years, but has been to watch Christmas movies on Christmas Eve and have some cookies and eggnog. Um, Now, traditionally, it has been like the cookies that we've had were sugar cookies that my mother made. This year she hasn't. Well, she was also sick too, so she hasn't been, filling up to cooking. So I made some cookies that weren't sugar cookies. So we'll be having those Christmas Eve, and having some eggnog. But this year, I feel like for Christmas Eve, even though I watched it before, I might rewatch A Christmas Carol just because I enjoy it that much. I'll probably be watching It's a Wonderful Life, and I'll have to see what I currently have on hand to watch. And I might watch. Actually, I don't think I have this one. I might watch Home Alone, but I don't think I have that one on me currently. But yeah, that's sort of like what has been interesting, just like watching Christmas movies and just having some cookies and eggnog to go with that as well. It's just definitely been a very nice tradition. Gaming related, actually no, I don't think I've really had any gaming related ones, just because I didn't know. I guess normally I had just been playing whatever new games I got for Christmas, and I never thought about establishing a firm tradition.
Well, I mean, you play Arkham.
That actually is true. That is
Origins every
true.
year.
Yes, that is true. Ever since I thought about ever since I had that thought about, I wonder if I could actually play as Batman and complete Origins in a single night like he did. And I was like, all right, that'll be a challenge. And I've been running with it ever since, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, very cool. In my case, trying to think of like what kind of traditions I had as a kid. I mean, as a kid, it was definitely much more things like listening to Christmas music all the time. I don't really listen to Christmas music as much anymore because once I actually had to start trying to play Christmas songs on the guitar and pick out songs every week to do at church, when my wife and I were leading exclusively at our church for a while there, and then trying to get people to do stuff for the Christmas Eve service, I ended up not enjoying Christmas songs nearly as much. And so it's like, it kind of ruined Christmas songs for me for the most part. But I mean, I guess now more than anything, it's just the traditions I have with my family now, because I mean, it's been obviously a very long time since I lived with my parents, and that was last time I was, I lived with my parents while I was attending college up until I got married. So it was 2009. May of 2009 was the last time I actually lived with my parents, and I've been married ever since then. So the traditions, I think that just general traditions. So of course, watching Christmas movies with the kids. My wife and I, usually the first Christmas movie we watch every year is Family Man. And then we watch Fat Man has been the second one we've been watching every year. And Christmas Eve every year. I think this started probably before we had kids, but maybe it was after. Is It's a Wonderful Life. We watch that every Christmas Eve. After the kids go to bed. We tried putting it on for the kids last year, and it didn't really keep their interest, so we just kept it as, this is just something we watch, the two of us. So but I think definitely, of course, now I appreciate the fact that I can get together with family, because there was, a number of years that I couldn't. I mean, like, up until my parents left Alaska, we got together with them for Christmas. But once they left, then it was just us for a while. for, let's see, from 2015 through, so it's 2020, yeah, 2015 through 2020. It was just us. I mean, yeah, we had the kids in that time frame, but most of those years they were still pretty young, so it was fun, but not as much fun as it was as they got older, as it has been getting as they've gotten older. But the where was I going with this? Yeah, but so yeah, getting together with my family, with my sisters and their families every year. Oh, this is a big one. Having the guys get together that we've been having every year since we moved here, that I've been hosting, and you know, it's just been a good time to get together with my brothers-in-law and their boys, and just eat some good food, watch a movie, and just have a good time hanging out. I really enjoy that, and of course, it's also like in my mind that I always associate that with being on vacation as well, because it always normally happens the Friday of my vacation week. So like usually, or that I start vacation. So usually like I'll be done with work either that Friday and then we'll have the party that evening, or I'll be done with do like a half day on Wednesday and then have Thursday, Friday off. But this time we're doing it Monday because my brother-in-law, who's our pastor, had to officiate a wedding yesterday. So because he did that, he didn't want to be up late on Friday, so we just decided to push it to Monday, and it worked out just fine for everybody. So that's one tradition. Gaming related, it's definitely been Die Hard plus Assassin's Creed that I've been doing for the past 5-6 years. That's been a fun tradition. The only thing that's annoying about that is that Windows seems to have just issues with recognizing my external Blu-ray drive. In the past, I could get it working, and then it got to the point where it's like, okay, it's working, but it's not recognizing the disc. Now it's powering the drive, but it's not recognizing the drive. And I messed around a bunch of different stuff trying to figure it out, and I've just gotten really frustrated. I mean, thankfully I have, because the Blu-ray, the physical copy also came with a digital copy, I just end up watching the digital version. But it's like, I really want to watch the Blu-ray. That's why I have the Blu-ray, and this is the only time of year that I watch it. But I end up having to watch it digitally because I can never get the external drive working. And I bet probably I wouldn't have that issue on Linux. I halfway want to try plugging it into the Steam Deck and finding out if it just works by default. I mean, I know that I'd probably still have to download the necessary files in order for it to recognize all the discs and whatnot, but even just having it show up would show me, oh yeah, this is a Windows issue. And that's what I'm expecting is probably the case. But there was a while there where I was using I think it was some Cyberlink software for playing Blu-rays. And then it would work for a while, and then suddenly it would stop working. And it was because you had to upgrade to the New Year's version.
Oh my
and so they basically made it so that it wouldn't read Blu-rays anymore. And then I finally got tired of that, and then I found, oh, VLC will play that, which of course is free, but now VLC is not recognizing my Blu-ray drive, and Windows is not recognizing my Blu-ray drive, and I tried updating drivers and everything else, and it's not even recognizing it at all. Even though it's powering it just fine when it's plugged in. So, but yes, going back once again, Assassin's Creed plus Die Hard. But yeah, lots of good stuff. All right, you got another question for me?
Yes, and I might know the answer to this one, but do you prefer a white Christmas or no? And I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about
right. No, I hate the movie, but and I think Christmas doesn't even appear in that movie if I remember correctly. But if I don't have to go anywhere, I like White Christmas. If I have to go somewhere, I prefer not having a White Christmas. Now, if it's not like too bad, I don't mind because I know how to drive in the snow. It's not really, I'm not concerned about me driving in the snow. I'm concerned about everybody else who doesn't know how to drive in the snow.
Mm.
I mean, I have, both my vehicles are all-wheel drive, so they do just fine in the snow. Plus, I have lots of experience, you know, almost 18 years of experience driving in the snow. So it's like, I know how to do it, but I hate going out in the roads when there's other people driving in the snow because people don't know how to drive in the snow or they forget how to drive in the snow. And yes, it's been several years since I've really had to, but I have those instincts and the muscle memory and everything. And I know not that, you know, if you're starting to fishtail, that you take your foot off the gas, you don't put your foot on the brake, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I don't have snow tires anymore, but, or, you know, studded tires for that matter, but I still know how to handle it. And like I said, all-wheel drive makes a huge difference driving in the snow. But yeah, I would, even if I had to go somewhere for Christmas, I wouldn't necessarily mind it if if there's not a whole lot of people out, because then at least it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm fine driving in the snow. I just don't like dealing with it when I have to go out. Because I enjoy White Christmas from the standpoint of being inside, enjoying just looking at the snow and everything else. Kids can go outside, play in the snow and all that. I hate having to deal with driving on the roads during that. We've only had one snowfall so far this winter, or, you know, this year since, not counting the beginning of the year. And it only lasted for a day, you know, it was gone the next day. So, but yeah, I'm over it. I had more than enough White Christmases to last a lifetime, so. What about you?
Yeah. No, not for me. Not for me. Ever since I first had to start shoveling snow, that's when I was done with White Christmases. I mean, before that point, I was like, yeah, it should snow every Christmas, because that's the fun stuff. But then once I had to start shoveling, I was like, yeah, you know what? If I never had to see another snowfall ever again in my life, it would be far too soon. And I mean, especially when we had years where we had full-on heavy blizzards with like 15 plus inches of snow, I was like, yeah, no more. And we've had a couple snowfalls over the past month. The first one was pretty much a nothing burger. Like, it snowed that night, but the next day the sun pretty much melted what was on the ground. And I did have to shovel last week, but fortunately it wasn't anything that was really sticking to the ground, so it was pretty much just like shovel and keep going on. But yeah, I really wouldn't, I'm not into it. If it was something that where it's just like lightly powdering the ground,
yeah,
then I would be probably fine with
right.
that. But when anything like when it starts accumulating, then I'm just like, yeah, no, that's enough for me. But yeah, no White Christmases for me.
Yeah, definitely. All right, what is the furthest you've ever traveled for Christmas?
Oof. Honestly, it's not far at all. Everyone in my family, within the sort of immediate and somewhat extended family, but through like uncles, cousins, first stuff like that, we've all been in the same states, and for the most part, everyone is within a 35-minute drive. So it hasn't been really too difficult to go from one person's house. Like, I think the furthest someone has lived would be within that 35-minute drive. But other than that, everyone has just been within on average, like 15 to 20 minutes away. I mean, even the one uncle who on my father's side, who we went to house, he lives like probably in about 5-10 minutes away from where
nice.
I am. So everyone has been pretty much close here. Now there have been a couple relatives who have gone out of state, like for example, one cousin, she is currently in Japan right now with her husband because he's stationed out there. But everyone still has just been pretty much within the states overall. So we've definitely been close.
Nice. The farthest for me is definitely the one Christmas I went out to Wyoming. And that was when I still lived in Alaska, and before my wife and I got married. We were just engaged at the time. And so I stayed at her parents' house and spent Christmas there. And interesting story about that. So for one, that was a time when I was regularly doing scavenger hunts for gifts for my bride to be at the time. And we actually have recording of the full scavenger hunt I did for all of the gifts I got for her for Christmas. So that was fun. But the other interesting part about that, I remember at the time, like I had been working nights, and so I wasn't entirely used to, sleeping normal hours and everything. And so I basically didn't sleep between Christmas Eve and Christmas. I was up like basically all night playing Final Fantasy IV on DS. So, because I just couldn't sleep. I was having a really hard time, so. But yeah. I think, if I remember correctly, I think my wife might have my bride-to-be at the time would have got me Chrono Trigger on DS. I can't remember if she got that for me or if I bought that for myself. I honestly don't remember. But I remember that I played it right around that time. I mean, that was my first time playing Chrono Trigger by any stretch, but it was, I got it right when it came out. So. But yeah. That's it what I have for questions. Did you have any others?
I have one more question.
All
I
right.
feel like you probably kind of answered this earlier, but if there is another memory, then feel free to answer with that one. And that would be, what is one of the, I guess, funniest moments in Christmas past?
Oh man. That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, I'd really have to think through that one quite a bit, because I don't have anything specific that comes to mind. I mean, I'm sure there's been something. I just can't think of anything specific. Probably just something that's more funny looking back at it from when I was a kid than anything else. I mean, I guess the best way I could answer that is probably just thinking about, this is more just hindsight, the things my dad would say and do in order to delay us being able to open presents when I was a kid. Like, there's one of the times that they both my parents at the time would have sugar in their coffee, and so they had a thing of sugar on the lamp table, and my dad's excuse was, I can't do it with that sugar over there. Or like he would say, I need to go read the newspaper, and he would just come up with any excuse he could in order to delay us. And yeah, so that stuff is more, it's funny in hindsight. One of the things that was funny and this was in one of the home videos. So my oldest sister's named Melissa, and she and so I think it was, my younger sister got a doll for Christmas whose name was Melissa, and my little sister opened it up, and And then my middle sister, I think my dad asked, like what is it? And my middle sister said, it's named Melissa, and my dad says, "Oh no." It was funny, but yeah. As a completely random side note that's related. So, I think it was probably back in it was 2018. It was after my dad passed away that I took all of the old VHS home movies and digitized them. And then I made up DVDs and sent them to my family and everything. And the thing is that in order to get them digitized, I had to play the VHS tapes off of a VCR onto my computer and then record that, which could be a very tedious process because there's just a lot to go through. There wasn't any fast way to do it. So I thought, okay, I have a brilliant idea. I'm going to do something to keep myself distracted while I'm doing this. So I was at the time playing through the Arkham games again. And so there's one time where I had started recording one of the videos and then I started playing Arkham City. But the thing is that the way the video came out, you could hear Arkham City, all the sound from that over the sound of the video. And there's one point where you see my little sister on screen and then you hear Penguin talking. And yeah, it didn't work out quite the way I was hoping it would. It wasn't quite as simple as I wanted it to be, but I had some good times with messing with that stuff despite all the work it was. And unfortunately, like, part of me wants to go back because I still have the digital versions of all those, clean it up some more, because for one, the audio sync still wasn't quite right because it was off by like half a second, the audio sync. And I thought I got it right, but unfortunately I think it still was a little off. And also there's just a lot of background noise. And I know now, like with using the some of the AI tools that they have to clean up the background noise, that I could use that and actually really clean up the audio and make it a lot better than it was before. But it's a lot of work to go through and do all that. So, and then redo the DVDs and everything. So it's just kind of it hasn't happened. And then of course now my desktop doesn't have a disk drive and I can't get the Blu-ray drive to be read. So I don't know if I'll ever get around to doing something like that. I mean, I guess if nothing else, I could easily just do the videos, publish them to my personal YouTube thing, and just make it so that they're unlisted so that only family members can see them. But yeah, something I did do that was kind of fun was like I would put together like intro compilation videos for each one, and or for each disc that would have just a bunch of clips from the different videos, and then it would be put to music. And I was using Octopath Traveler music for it, and that was pretty fun to do. There was one that I did, and I'm pretty sure it was the first disc, and I would have, like, since my dad took excruciatingly long to open gifts, like very slowly peeling a piece of tape to get it off, I just have, like, throughout this entire intro video, just clips of him slowly peeling away at the tape. And by the end of the video, he's still not done with it. It's like a 4-minute intro video, and yeah, it was just, anyway, I had fun with it. Yeah. Anyway, that's my answer.
That was definitely very good. For me, this is something that is, I guess, was a reflection of how naive I was, and how I didn't pick up on it. But my younger sister did. So there was one year as we were getting older when my parents when they were going to go shopping, or let me put it like this. We went out one day and they said they were going to get some gifts for some just for some kids out in need and stuff. And so they had us, pick out gifts for kids roughly our age. And so my sister, she was very perceptive, and she picked out stuff that she wanted, and I was trying to look at it and just think about, okay, what would someone my age like? And I was trying to be thoughtful about it, and I was just like, okay, maybe this, I guess that, and so then come Christmas morning, we open up our gifts, and some of what was there were the things that we selected, and I was very surprised. My sister, she said, yeah, I knew what was going on. And I'm just like, how did you know that? She told me, yeah, why would you think that they would be thinking about any other kids? And why would they ask for roughly our age? And I'm like, I mean, well, they said it was for us. And they said, yeah, that wasn't the truth. And I was like, okay, they got me there. And so that was just a fun moment. It was just funny looking back, and my sister still likes to heckle me about that and say, how did you not get that? But
that's really funny.
That's what I had.
I love it. That is fantastic. Yeah, I wish I could think of specific stuff like that, but yeah, it's definitely just fun thinking back about those things and just picking up on stuff that you missed before. And I very much hope that I can torture my kids, because it's like I've been trying to do it every year, but most of the time it's just like the kids just kind of ignore me and go off and do their own thing. It's like, come on, you got to be. But of course, nowadays with video games and everything else that I didn't have when I was their age, like I guess I get it a little more. They can easily keep themselves occupied with other stuff, but yeah, that's good stuff. I can't really think of anything else. I didn't have any other questions written down. I'm gonna check real quick and see if I find anything that's like helpful from that standpoint, as far as, or I mean, some other questions. Let's see here. All right, so I guess the last question that I have is, I mean, like, I don't know how much. I guess first I should ask, before I ask the question, how much time do you get off for Christmas, or is it just Christmas Eve and Christmas, or?
It's Christmas Eve and Christmas are guaranteed, and we have skeleton crew days that just depend on who signs up for what days, and then whatever days we don't work, or whatever days we do work during the break, we get floating days off for free time off, essentially, later on in January, that we get to use.
Okay. All right, so then my last question is, do you have any lazy goals for Christmas break?
Man, okay. I guess my biggest lazy goal is just to is really just, wow, it's gonna just be to stay in, try to do some gaming, and that's really it. That's like my biggest goal. I mean, I don't know if I were to call this lazy, but trying to finish maybe one of the books I've been working on. But other than that, it's really just staying in. And I mean, if I can help it, if it's because I've done this in advance, not even worry about cooking because I've got leftovers. That type of lazy day I would like to have during the Christmas break. And I might, no, I was say I might even be able to do it Friday, but I work Friday, so no. But I might do that for the next week though, because I do have Tuesday off. and Wednesday, so I might do the lazy stuff that week then.
There you go. All right. Well, I guess I would say in my case, my lazy goals are to basically any new games I get for Christmas to try out every single one of them. And depending on how things go from you, I mean, like it varies from year to year, but any new games, I want to make sure I actually try out all of them, because I think of the new ones I got last year, I'm trying to think the last 2 years, really, because like I've gotten new games the last 2 years, and I think that there's still at least some of them that I haven't tried yet. I know like last year, I at least tried out Armored Core, which I enjoyed when I played. I just didn't play a lot, and I played all the way through Dark Souls 2. I know I did Bloodstained, the majority of it. I still need to actually beat the game. I honestly don't even remember. I know that there's other games that I've gotten. Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed was another one. Assassin's Creed 4. But anyway, so yes, that's my one of my lazy goals. My other one is to have a day where I don't do anything responsible other than, you know, the very basic stuff that I have to do as a parent, husband, father, and just play video games the entire day. And I'm sure some of that will be spent hanging out with the wife and like listening to something while we play games, you know, her playing Animal Crossing and me playing whatever it is that I play. But I definitely want that to happen sometime during the break. Especially because I haven't really had a day to fully relax yet since going on break. All right. Anything else?
I do not think I have any other questions.
All right. Well, let's get into our recommendations and dissuasions. Why don't you start us off?
My recommendation is going to be to enjoy not just Christmas, but all the holidays throughout the year in general with your loved ones that you spend, just because these moments can definitely last throughout your entire life, and you can definitely look back and just remember all the good times that you've had. And also, you know, everyone's not going to be around, so definitely cherish the moments in time you have to spend with your loved ones, because they might not be there the next day. So definitely take the time to enjoy it, cherish it, and just have those moments to look back fondly upon. That's what I've got.
Very good. Very, very important recommendation. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. My recommendation. So first I'm going to start with Pragmata. I definitely recommend checking out the demo on Steam Deck and or PC. If it's available on console, or when it's available on console, definitely check that out if you don't have Steam Deck or PC. I don't know what the game's rated, but I would say that I don't think there was any content in it that would be above teen rating from what I recall. So it's at least worth checking out. And of course, you know, it's free, so you might as well test out the demo. It's short. You can finish it in, you know, 20 to 30 minutes easily, probably even shorter than that if you're rushing through it. So there's that. The other thing I'm going to recommend is making peanut butter cookies stuffed with cream cheese frosting, because it's so good. So good. I mean, you could do it with any kind of cookie, whatever your favorite kind of cookie is. But basically, it's literally just you make the frosting, you roll up it into balls, or like scoop it up with like an ice cream scoop. Put it in the freezer so that it gets cold and solid. Then make up your other dough. Wrap those balls in the cookie dough, and then you bake them as normal. And it's just like peak. Like, it's so good. We're definitely gonna have to try it with like chocolate chip cookies and other stuff like that in the future, because it's just Man, that was good. So good. Yeah. I don't think I had any. Oh, yes. The last recommendation is, once again, Fat Man. Gotta watch that movie if you haven't seen it. Mel Gibson as Santa. And it's just like, it's one of those that the concept of it sounds really like ridiculous / cheesy, but it's just actually a really good movie. And it's good to the point where my wife has said that this is like one of her favorite Christmas movies. And she looks forward to watching it every year. That's always the second movie we watch around Christmas time when we start watching Christmas movies. So, yep. That's what I got on that front. Of course, definitely agreeing with what you said for your recommendation. All right, dissuasions.
My dissuasion is going to be in Arkham Origins. Do not approach stealth in the overworld as you would indoors, because you lose so many options and so many practical advantages that you normally would have. So just do the basic stuff you would normally do for stealth segments. You know, just your stealth takedowns, slowly picking off enemies one by one. Do not try to be fancy. Don't try to, lay out the little bat spray on the ground trying to like get enemies. Don't try to do anything like that. Just slowly pick them off one by one and save that fancy stuff for indoors where it's more practical. Otherwise, you won't have a good time. Unless you're that skilled. I know people are skilled that well, so they're probably like, yeah, I could definitely do that. I'm built different. I'm not built different, so if you're like me, don't do that.
Very good. So I have a couple of dissuasions. First of all, just based on what happened for us, if you are going to use fresh milled flour to make chocolate chip cookies, don't try doing it 1-to-1 with the amount you would do of normal flour. You're going to need extra flour, and just trust that if the dough's extra sticky, you'll know that you need more flour. So don't do that. Cookies still tasted good, but they were less cookies and more like cookie cracker things, whatever. Still delicious, but just not quite cookies. My second dissuasion, and this is something that kind of pains me to say, but after a lot of thoughts, a lot of reflecting on Metroid Prime 4, I'm going to say that if you are looking for a true successor to the previous Metroid Prime games or Metroid games in general, don't buy Metroid Prime 4. Because it's not that. I don't think that it's necessarily not worth playing at all. Like, if you really just want to play it and you don't care what the naysayers have to say about it, then go for it. But just know that it's not the same. It's just not on the same level. And it's not necessarily a bad game per se, but it's just very disjointed, and it's just not really a true Metroid game. And I really just want to dissuade people from spending the $60 to $70 on that if they're not going into it with the... if they go into it with the right mindset, I think it'll be fine. You can still enjoy it. It's just, don't go into it expecting it to be on the same level, or even close to the same level, even feeling like an actual true Metroid game. Because if you go into it with the mentality of thinking it's going to be maybe just a lesser but still great Metroid game, you're probably going to be disappointed. So I don't want people to waste their money. But yeah, I think, was there? Yeah, that was it. That's what I have. All right, where can people find you?
They can find me on my channel. I am Xeracon. That's IAMXERACON. So youtube.com/@IamXeracon. No new content from me, and it probably will be a while before I decide to put out a new video. I'm not certain what my next topic will be currently at the moment, so that'll be what it is. And then I also have my other channel, Justin's Bible Blog. That's @Justin's Bible Blog. Also, no new content, but I do have several topics that I am interested in recording. I just have to get all that straightened out, but that'll also be a while just because of working right now and waiting to find a good time to record. But yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Well, you can find me on my YouTube gaming channel at the Frozen Gamer 87. There hasn't been anything new in a while, but I am hoping, God willing, during my break to actually get at least 2, if not 3 videos recorded and edited so that they can go up, because I just have been putting the stuff off and it's just been difficult to find the time. But I'm hoping, especially after Christmas, because I really think that's going to be the easiest time to start doing that, I can get those videos recorded and start getting those up. I'm not expecting to have regular content. That's just not really the way I'm approaching this channel. I'm looking at this more as this is a hobby. This is something just doing more as a, I guess you could call it a passion project to some degree, but not something where I'm looking at it as ever intending for it to go anywhere. It's just doing it because I enjoy the video editing process. I don't like the video recording process. I like the editing process. I just don't like the recording process. And just knowing that I'm not realistically going to be able to do these things consistently. So, yeah. But yeah, and then there's of course the YouTube and Rumble channels for the podcast. That is on YouTube at the Orange Box Podcast. On Rumble, it's not a custom URL, but you can still find us there very easily. That hosts the video version of the podcast every week, Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time, barring any technical issues. That's every Friday, at 7 a.m. Central Time, barring any technical issues. And then there's also the audio-only version of the podcast, which goes live at 12 a.m. Central Time every Friday, barring any technical issues, on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and others that I can't think of off the top of my head. But yeah, so there's all those things. I have a YouTube cooking channel, Not Authentic But Delicious. That's YouTube at NABD Cooking. I haven't put anything out on there in like a year, so I don't know when I'm going to do anything more with it, but there are about 40 recipes, give or take, on there that all really good stuff. So all worth checking out. And yeah, I think that's everything. I guess last thing is, if you want to contact us, you can send us an email to theorangeboxpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just leave a comment on the video and we'll respond and or read it on the show, depending on whether it's a question or just a comment. So, but even if you don't, we're normally going to talk 2 to 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours, sometimes more, every week. This is how we catch up week to week and get an outlet to talk about video games and all the news going on. And I think not this coming week, but the following week. So this episode's coming out on Christmas. I'm not sure if we want to do our Game of the Year episode before the year is officially up, or if we want to wait till after the year is up. I'm kind of leaning more towards the latter, doing it like the first episode of the new year would be the Game of the Year episode. But we can kind of play it by ear, see what we have for topics next week, and go from there. But yeah. That is everything. So, last chance. Any final thoughts?
No, sir.
All right. Well, I am the Frozen Gamer 87. That is I am Zeracon. We are the Orange Box Podcast. And until next time, remember that Jesus is the reason for the season, who was born to live the perfect life that we could never live, died the death we deserve to die, rose from the dead, defeating death, and offers the greatest gift of all, salvation from sin's punishment and peace with God. All that is required of you to receive this gift is to repent of your sins, turn away from them, and put your faith and trust in Jesus alone for your salvation. Have a Merry Christmas. Orange Box Podcast.